Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today this should be an interesting show. I wonder if this one will get shut down. It's possible. It's possible. But listen, I have an amazing lady on. Her name is Jenna McCarthy, not Jenny, Jenna McCarthy. She's joining us. She's written 20 books. She's a rock star. She's amazing. You guys, do me a favor. Go share this out with everyone on every platform. We are literally live everywhere right now. So share this out to everyone and stay with us. We will be right back with Jenna McCarthy. And we're back. Let me bring Jenna on. Jenna, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ken. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. So, this might be a controversial show. I'm not sure. But look, we're going to start with, before we get into the weeds, let's start with you telling everybody where you were born and raised.
Oh, we're going deep right off the bat. Okay.
Yes.
I was born in New York to two born and raised New Yorkers, raised mostly in Florida. Moved back just to piss off my parents, moved back to Manhattan just about as soon as I could in my 20s. I worked in publishing. So I was a staff writer and editor for several magazines. I worked for 17, Mademoiselle, Shape. I started freelancing. So I wrote I stopped counting at 60. So at one point it was 60. It's probably closer to 80 magazines now. Been translated into tons of languages. Started writing books about 20 years ago. Wrote one and was like, I did it. Wow. Like, I wonder if I'll ever have anything else to say. And apparently I keep coming up with things to say. So
right.
I had written about 20. And, in writing, most authors pick a genre and they stick with it, right? They write mystery, they write romance, they write children's books. I have written everything. I've written nonfiction, I've written novels, I've written middle grade fiction, I have written religious books, which is really funny because I'm a notorious potty mouth, no F-bombs in those. Children's picture books, I've done memoir, I've done other people's biographies. So for me, the commonality was always humor. I am a humor writer first and foremost. And if it's not funny, I don't want to write it. I don't want to read it. I literally call myself Kittens and Sunshine Girl. Like, I will make a joke at a funeral. I'm sorry, but I will. I had a horrible childhood. So you get funny, right? You either get sad and depressed or you get funny. I chose funny. So that was kind of the commonality with my books. I was asked to give a TED talk and I did that. And it was posted to the TED homepage on Valentine's Day and I got millions of views. And so I started becoming a speaker. And I would joke, I'm a sit down comedian. I'm not a stand up comedian. I'm only funny, with my fingertips and my brain. But I learned how to be funny standing up as well.
Wow.
So I was doing a lot of that until COVID, and then COVID hit. Yeah. And, I certainly wasn't feeling super funny at the beginning. I was in the middle of two different manuscripts, like almost done, a middle grade novel or a young adult novel and an adult novel. And when I say adult, I do not mean X-rated, just as opposed to not for younger kids.
Right.
I'd say it's R-rated for sure, but not X.
Right.
And I couldn't finish either one. My brain wasn't there. I started going down rabbit holes, and from day one, all my spidey senses were tingling. This isn't right. This doesn't make sense. So literally, like by March, I was posting to Facebook almost as exclusively my thoughts on the insanity and how nothing was making sense. And my reward for that was go to hell. There was some stay home and die. I hope you die. I hope your family dies. You're going to be really bad, you know. And I was like, wait, what's happening? I'm here trying to share life-saving information, and you respond with, I hope you die. So again, it kept feeding this doesn't make sense. Nothing about this narrative, this messaging makes sense. So, you know, I could nitty gritty this, but basically what happened was I got kicked off Instagram. I got completely shadow banned on Facebook. Like nobody would see my posts. People would say to me, "Oh, did you leave Facebook?" I'm like, "No, I'm there. There's just, you know, nobody sees anything." So I moved to my personal blog, which is just on my website. And I kind of found some workarounds for sharing on Facebook. You know, if you didn't say any of the bad words, you couldn't say COVID, you couldn't say vaccine, you couldn't, you know, if you used kittens and sunshine emojis and, you know, circuitous language, you could drop a link in the comments and then maybe 25 people would see it. I mean, and this was 500 used to see my posts out of several thousand. So, and then Substack happened. And, you know, if anybody is watching this and is not familiar with Substack, it is God's gift to writers. It is God's gift to readers. It's uncensored. It's, you know, you can find the people you want to follow. You can find your followers. It's an amazing community. And for writers, it's, you know, I literally give a little prayer every night. Please don't let that ever go away, because, you know, it has become my go-to. It's the number one app on my phone. It's where I get my information, and it's where I share my information.
I know nothing about it, and I'm in technology for the last 30 years. I've heard of it, but I've never been on it, I don't think.
It is, I mean, so from the writer's perspective, it's free. It's really easy to navigate. It's really easy to post. You can post almost immediately. The functionality is off the charts. You can embed video links. Nothing has to go to an external source. So your readers can, in their email, they can see your GIFs. They can, you know, but you can have as many links as you want. It's really image friendly, video friendly. But beyond that, you get a dashboard that it's like Google Analytics on heroin. You get every single metric: how many people opened it, how many people clicked a link, which links they clicked, where they went after, how many people shared it, where your readers are coming from, if they're coming from other Substacks or from a Google search. So it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Amazing. And, you know, one of the most amazing things about it is when I started it, every once in a while, I was just posting for free, as you do. It was like my blog, but on a bigger platform. And I would get these notices saying, Ken Walls has pledged a subscription to you. And let me back up. Oh, during COVID, I co-wrote The War on Ivermectin, this slightly controversial book with Dr. Pierre Corey, who is
it's not controversial anymore. The truth is out now. It's no longer a conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly. It's been vindicated 5 ways to Sunday.
It's insane. I'm sorry. I could literally go off on this topic, but I'm gonna let you do that.
We can do it together. Well, my co-author and friend, Dr. Pierre Corey, he is a prolific Substacker. He writes 10,000 words multiple times a week. He has hundreds of thousands of followers, and we were just talking on the phone one day, and I said, "What does this mean? I want to pledge to your Substack." And he was like, "Dumbass, people want to pay you." And I said, "Well, I don't get it. Why would they pay me for something they're already getting for free?" And he's like, "They want to support your work. They want to support truth and journalism, independent journalism." And so it was a click of a button on my Substack. I just went, okay, enable subscriptions.
Wow.
And people continue to pay. I get people paying me for stuff that they would otherwise get for free. And, you know, first of all, I'm so incredibly grateful, because it takes me hours and hours and hours to, you know, compose and compile every Substack. But I can see in the not distant future Like I could actually make a living at this and, devote
Wow.
even more time. The folks that are doing it 5-6 days a week, the Alex Berensons, the Matt Taibbi, the Jeff Childers, they're making 6+ figures by doing this. And so they can afford, I have to make money other ways. So I can't do it all day, every day. But that would be a dream. And, again, I'm not paid by Substack. I am not an official spokesperson, but they've made it so phenomenally easy for that to happen. It's uncanny, unfathomable. I don't have enough adjectives for it.
I'm sitting here on another window trying to log. I have an account already, I guess. So I'm trying to follow you. It popped right up. Like,
hey. My Substack is called Genocide because I like to annoy people.
Oh my God.
Not genocide. With my tagline, you might die laughing.
That is so funny. So okay, that was really fast, and I want to slow you down a little bit. I want to back up a little. Go back to, here's the thing, and I get the bad childhood, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. So go back to, I always feel like there's someone, something, some event, whatever, maybe a series of events that happen as children that push us in the direction that we become as adults. What comes to mind when, like, what was childhood like? What was it that pushed you into this comedic thing you've got going on? I don't know how else to put it.
I honestly, I think it was truly a survival mechanism. Like I've never liked horror movies. I don't like scary rides. I don't like sad movies. Like my kids to this day, they're grown women. They'll say, "Mom, you should read this book. Nobody dies." Like nobody dies. Why do I want to put, garbage in, garbage out, whatever you want to call it? Why, if you have the choice to infuse your brain with happy, funny thoughts or sad, negative thoughts, I just don't understand it. And I know lots and lots, like my daughters, hopeless romantics. They love the Fault in Our Stars and all the somebody's going to die, but they loved each other so much. Well, they could have lived. They also could have lived. My husband and I watched a TV show recently. Oh, and I can't remember the name of it. Damn it. I don't watch a lot of TV at all, but we got sucked in. I heard it was good. It was like a 8-part series, and the main character dies in the last episode. The person that you fell in love with, and it was like this. It was a story of these two best friends. I think it was called One Day or One Week. So, and it followed them over a 20-year period but they were best friends. But you kind of know they're going to wind up together. But he gets married and has a kid, and she has a series of bad relationships. But once a year they get together as friends, and then they finally realize that they love each other and everything's so great. And she literally gets hit by a fucking car and dies. Like,
oh my God.
When I tell you, and as the scene is approaching, like they're buying their first house together and they're on the phone and it's raining and she's riding a bike. And I'm looking at my husband, I'm like, something bad's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. Something like la, 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 something bad's going to happen. And sure enough, she gets hit. And then you can tell by the way they show her, she's dead. And I mean, a hand on my heart. I got up and walked out of the room. I was like, I'm so mad right now.
Yeah.
It's not even funny.
I get it though. I get it. I'm the same way though. I don't like horror movies. No way. No.
You're also giving you're giving the psychopaths ideas by
the way. Like,
maybe put the kibosh on that.
Yes.
So, I mean, compared to a lot of people, like I wrote my best friend's autobiography, her biography, and her childhood was off the chain. I mean, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse. She was force-fed until she vomited and made to eat the vomit. Like my childhood was not that. It was not that. It was a house of two very unhappy people that shouldn't have been together, but for whatever reason
Yeah.
stayed. There was a lot of anger. There was a
Yeah.
lot of, and so I kind of was like the peanut gallery in the Jim Henson movies, like trying to
Yeah.
get a little excited, make everybody laugh, diffuse the situation. There was always a situation. And
Yeah.
it seemed to work. I mean, it was better than hiding under your bed or,
Yeah.
checking out.
Did you graduate high school, I'm
I did.
assuming?
Yeah,
Did you go to college?
I did.
Okay. And you majored in journalism?
No, I changed my major roughly 6 times a semester. I went through psychology, leisure services. My folks were super stoked about that one.
Wow.
And neither of my parents had gone to college. My dad was actually a high school dropout. My older sister had already gone to college and was in medical school. So she was, she's the classic firstborn. She was going to hyper succeed. I was going to get a BA from the Florida State University. That was going to be fine with me. But relative to my, family, that was pretty solid. My ultimate major was communications and advertising with a minor in French so that you can get dirty looks when you order a croissant in France. That's helpful.
That's crazy. My wife has a degree, I think, in communications and she was a double major, also French.
Totally useless, but it's fun to whip out. It's a good party trick.
She speaks fluent French. It's amazing.
Yeah.
She closed a deal with me one time because this guy in Canada, he didn't speak English.
Oh, that's awesome.
I said, well, let me call my wife and get her on the call. Un momento, por favor.
The Spanish would have been a lot more helpful having lived in California and Florida and Texas, but you don't get a lot of chance to use your French here in Austin, but I get over there every once in a while.
We're in Dallas. I didn't realize you're in Austin. We're up in Dallas.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. So talk about when you got out of college. Where did things go? Did you go get the big cushy corporate job? What did you become an instant millionaire? I know when I dropped out of high school, so I'm a fan of your dad. I left like 4 months before graduation, my senior year. They're like, you didn't get a biology credit in 10th grade. And I'm like, yeah, I hated that class. Like, why? I didn't go. And they're like, well, you need that credit to graduate, dipshit. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to get it. So let's give me the piece of it. They wouldn't negotiate. And so I just said,
bye.
I'm out. Yeah. But look, I've had probably over 1,000 college graduates work for me. So does that make up for it?
Probably.
But talk about when you got out of college and you get, you're full of energy and you got this new degree. You're going to tackle the world, take over the world. I would imagine that's the energy I feel from you. You just want to take over the world. So how did things go for you from there?
Oh boy. So in college, I had done an internship at an advertising agency. I was majoring in advertising, a lovely agency. And after graduation, I was hoping that they would hire me, but they didn't and weren't. They hadn't hired a new copywriter, which was what I wanted to do in, I believe it was 8 years at the time.
Wow.
So I went and got a job at a magazine selling ad space. So it was basically I applied for 2 jobs. One was with Linear Copier to sell copy machines. And the other one was with this magazine. So I was way more interested in magazines than copy machines. So I took that one. It was a commission job. So I actually made amazing money, like money that my brain couldn't even wrap itself around.
Right.
And I did that for about a year. And then I got a call from the advertising agency saying, we're hiring a writer. And I had 2 bosses and everybody on the planet loved one. And roughly nobody on the planet loved the other one. Right. But I happened to get along with that one really well because I was naive and like, why do I care? I'm just going to kind of kiss her ass. So she requested me for the interview. I got the job.
Wow.
My salary was $16,000 a year.
A month?
A year. a year. It came out to like $200 a week. This was in 1991 or something. So, okay,
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
Fine. It was not a lot, but I could pay my rent. I had bought my own car for the first time ever after my parents had, helped me out. So I could make my car payment. I could go out to dinner every once in a while, not a lot, but I was like, I have made it. So as a copywriter in a Florida-based advertising agency, basically, what you do is you sit with a stopwatch. Literally, I had 6 of them in my office, and you'd get copy points, like a list of here's all the things that need to be included in your ad. And you have to say all of that in 30 seconds. Go. And it would just be, you'd write it and it would be 97 seconds. Cut out 80% of it. Keep cutting out. So at the end, like one of my clients was Winn-Dixie Supermarkets. So here was a classic Jenna spot. Come on down to Winn-Dixie where bananas are just 99 cents a pound. You'll find them in the produce department. I mean, that's literally all you could say. That was it. But I was making the big bucks, so I was pretty stoked about that. And then I mean, I could tell you 10,000 stories, but this is not the most interesting part of my life. So I'm going to get to the segue. Showed up.
I got to tell, I'm sitting here blown away. You and my wife are like twins. I'm not kidding. Like, she got out of college, got a copywriting position with an ad agency. And I just spoke on that. The guy that owned that ad agency, I just spoke on one of their stages recently. And I'm like, this is crazy. My wife worked for you guys in Ohio many, many years ago. And anyway, it's just, I'm sitting here going, this is crazy. Holy crap.
Is she crazy too, like me?
You
can't answer that. Sorry, you probably watched it.
No, okay. So anyway, go ahead. No, she's awesome, just like you. So, so yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go to the segue. I love this story.
In retrospect, it was not a fabulous job, but I had no experience. I had no barometer. So I had a big, beautiful office. I looked over the downtown. People treated me with respect. The money was terrible, but I could still pay my bills. So to me, I was like, I'm writing. Like, I had friends that were, sales jobs, and, I had just done a sales job, which I liked being in the fancy office and having the cushy lunches and all the stuff. So I show up for work. The ad agency was in a bank building. So I show up for work. It was on my 24th birthday, and the entire lobby is filled with police. And so I just say hi, and I get in the elevator. It was like probably a holdup. Banks get robbed all the time. I go up to my floor, and the elevator doors open, and it's all police. I was like, that's weird. Again, like, this is before, 9/11. Like, I mean, I'm literally just like, wow, somebody's in trouble. Interesting. Doesn't even register on my radar that what's going down is going to impact me. Let me just say that. So I walk down the hall. Every door that's normally wide open is closed. So I go to my best friend's office, and she's sitting there sobbing. And I'm like, what in God's name happened? And she said, we lost Winn-Dixie, and they're laying off like 75% of the staff. And as God is my witness, I said to myself, poor bastards. And I went to my office and turned on my old DOS computer and was just ready to work. Like, it wasn't going to be me. I didn't even make enough money to register on the balance sheet. Why would they fire me? Like, I'm thinking they're going to start laying off, the big 6-figure suits up in the fancy 17th floor. So sure enough, my phone rings half an hour later, and it's my boss, and she says, can you come in? And I go into her office, and she's sobbing. And I said, oh God, this must be so hard for you. I'm still thinking like, but wow, bummer.
You need my help helping people out of the building. I get it. I'm here. No, I'm here for you.
Yeah. She was like, Jenna, I'm so sorry. And I was like, okay. I was like, so what do I do? Do I just like leave? Do I work today?
Wait, well, why were the police there?
In case people literally went postal.
Oh
yeah. Like, in case people start losing their, we have a police presence. So I went back to my beautiful office. She gave me a box. She gave me like a cardboard box, and I got to
That
my
was
office and I
nice.
didn't have anything. So I stole a bunch of sticky notes and a stapler. I still have the stapler. I swear to God, I still have the stapler. And I was like,
Oh my God, this is a scene from Office Space.
it should have been.
Oh
It
my
should have been.
God.
You know, we don't even have cell phones back then. So I get home
Wow.
and I call my dad and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And let me preface this by saying he was completely wrong, but my dad was really big and really loud. So if he said it, it was true. So he said, you go down and you file for unemployment. You paid for that shit and that's your money. And you go do that. And I was
Right.
like, okay. I mean, again, I know nothing about anything at this stage in my life,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. So I go to the unemployment agency, which is basically like picture like an Amtrak or
Right.
a you know, a bus deep. I mean, it's the unwashed, dirty masses. And you know, this is pre-internet, this is pre-computer. There's
Right.
no log in once a week, tick a box. No, you have to drive there, stand in line, show paper proof of your job search, business cards of people you've met. And I was like, getting a job is a full-time job. I am not like, this is not, I'm never coming back. So I
Wow.
didn't. So anyway, the agency called me within 2 days and said, hey, we have no writers anymore. Do you want to freelance for us? Because we still need, you know, we still have all of our other clients. And I said,
The agency that just let you
well,
go.
just let me go.
Oh, wow.
And they were now paying me again, 1991, $500 for a one-page bank brochure that I could write in an hour. And I was literally like, do you know what you were paying me before? Because like
Right.
I had to work 2.5 weeks to get $500 before.
And
I
now
mean,
it's an hour.
now it was an hour. So
Right.
I started freelancing, and
Good for
which
you.
led me to submitting to the New York magazines and getting a job interview. Again, so ignorant. You know, and like you, I speak to groups all the time. I used to speak
Yeah.
about publishing a lot. And,
Sure.
you know, my whole speech was, I'm going to tell you, like, this is how you break into magazines, because there's a way,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
do it, you know, by the book. And then I'm going to tell you the way I did it, which also worked. So don't let anybody tell you, you know, never send a cake with the lady jumping out of it. That might work. You know, they
Right.
liked me despite my absolute green, you know, neon green ignorance about the way anything worked. Like I was submitting
Yeah.
fully written articles, which you don't do. You query, you send a query letter, and you send clips of other stuff you've written, which
Yeah.
I didn't have. And, you know, you study the magazine for months and months and you memorize the masthead. I did none of
Yeah.
that. I just said, here's something pretty I wrote. I hope you like it.
Wow.
And it worked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. So you started freelancing. Hopefully you were making more than $500 a week.
It was great. It was great. I was in a whole nother league compared to where I'd been.
You know, I'm referral partners with Mark Victor Hansen, the #1 best-selling author in the world. And he's a dear friend of mine. In fact, he included a chapter about me in his biography, like, which is unbelievable.
Wow.
But you know, and then it's expensive to write a book. I mean, it's a lot of money to write a book with Mark Victor Hansen, which makes sense, right? So I started a publishing company myself to help smaller authors, because I in 2017, Grant Cardone convinced me to write a book, so I did. And I'm leading into something with you, and that is, it was life-changing for me to write a book. Life-changing. And I remember thinking, and I don't know if you experience this, I don't care if anybody ever buys a single copy of this book. I've written a book.
Oh no, I wanted everybody to buy it. I didn't feel like that at all. I wanted everybody to buy it, and I was pissed off when they didn't. Like, and people would say to me, "Oh, yeah, I still haven't bought your book," and I'm like, "It's $13 on Amazon. I'll pay for it if the money part is the problem. I just would like it out there in the world."
You said, I'll pay for it.
I'll give you,
Oh
I'll give
my
you credit.
God.
I'll send you a gift card. Just make
Oh,
sure you buy
that's
my
so
book
funny.
with it.
That's
Yeah,
so
no, I
funny.
really wanted to sell books, not for the money part, but
Wow.
I wanted that ego stroke. I mean, I wanted
Yeah.
like to know that somebody out there was reading my words, hopefully smiling or chuckling or going, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good point." You know, that is intoxicating to me.
What was the title of your first book?
My first book was The Parent Trip: From High Heels and Parties to High Chairs and Potties.
Oh, wow. I love that.
It was fun. And that was kind of a born of necessity. So I started the very first magazine I worked on staff for was 17, which is for teenage girls. And I was
Yeah.
very young. And then I went to Mademoiselle, which is for slightly older girls. And then I went to Shape, which is for women. And so my writing trajectory kind of followed that. So when I became
Wow.
pregnant, I started writing for Fit Pregnancy and Parenting and New Parent and Parents. So I
Wow.
had all these connections at all these magazines. I did one of the magazines, I think it was Fit Pregnancy, followed my pregnancy, every issue with pictures of me and how it was going, and with the baby at the end and the whole thing.
Wow.
So I kind of had people following my my parenting journey, but this was even before like blogging was a thing. And so as a writer, I'm also an avid reader, and there was one book back then in 2003 that I felt was for pregnant women, that was like real and raw and funny, and it was The Girlfriend's Guide to Pregnancy. And while it was real and raw and crack a little smile, like I was like, oh, I can do way better than this. I can make you pee your pants, which is not hard to do when you're pregnant, but
Right.
I can make other people pee their pants. So I was like, this book needs to exist in the world. And it was more like, this is the book I wished I had, like, I'm sorry, this is way too much information, especially for a man, and I apologize.
No, I love this. Go. I love it.
Well, I mean, okay, so you have a baby and you're in the hospital and they give you this giant diaper, and let me just tell you, that's not for the baby. And I'm like, how is this not something people talk about? Right? How one person needs to say, you're going to leave the hospital in your own diaper. Okay, that would have been good information to have. Yeah. I pack a darling little going home outfit for myself. It wasn't like a tube dress or anything, but
right.
Yeah, it was not going even over my, swollen cankle at that 2 days after having a baby. In fact, the day I gave birth, my husband's holding the baby, and I pad out to the little nurse's station to ask for something. And this cute young guy goes, "Good luck." I was like, I already had the baby. I just look fat. Like, this is, I actually, the baby is not even in me anymore. Again, didn't know that you still look 9. It's not like it deflates. Like, like Beyonce, when she had her fake baby bump, it's actually real and it takes a minute. Nobody tells you these things. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead and burst that bubble. I'm going to tell people what actually happens.
So you wrote another book, or that's the first book?
That was the first one. That was
okay.
It goes from the deciding to have a baby, a little bit of a preview, which was I was never going to have babies. The whole parenting thing looked miserable and thankless, and babies were sticky and they cried a lot, and that was not kittens and sunshine. Okay, that was the mom role. She was miserable. Who wanted to do that? That was a terrible, terrible role that nobody in their right mind would ever actively choose. So I went from that to meeting my husband, falling in love, seeing how it could be different. And we got a dog, we test drove the whole baby thing, and we nailed it. #nailed it. So we're like, all right, I think we can make a person. I feel like we'll be good at this. Let's do it.
Oh my God.
Throw caution to the wind. So, it kind of went through that up to, it went through the whole pregnancy, having the baby, having a newborn, and then what in blank were we thinking, deciding to have another one.
Wow.
So it's that.
My wife didn't have, we have one daughter together. I have a daughter from a previous learning experience. And so she was, I'm telling you, you guys are twins. 4 days before her 42nd birthday, she had our daughter.
Oh, wow.
She was never having kids ever. She was global VP of marketing for, these ginormous companies. Never going to until 2008, when those ginormous companies said, hey, we don't need marketing people anymore. And so, but it's the same story. It's crazy. That is so crazy. So you had kids, but okay. let's get to the part where you've written 20 books. Like you've written 20 books. At least that's what your bio says.
No, I have. Most of them are on Amazon, not all of them. I started 20 something years ago.
Yeah.
I write a book in 3 months, like an 80,000 word, something like this. It's about 3 months. It's not a pretty 3 months. There's not a lot of showering happening. There's, you make your own food. Cause when I get in the zone, I just write. But I could have written many, many more, but over that time, I was also raising children. I was still writing for magazines for a really long time. When I started speaking, there's a ton of, research and prep work that goes into writing and preparing a speech. I was not writing books full time, ever by any stretch. I guess, and I mean, until fairly recently. Now this is kind of since the war on ivermectin and, my Substack, I might turn that into a book someday. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's jump ahead. Let's jump to, 2020. Let's just, for shits and giggles, let's go to middle of February 2020. What were you doing?
The middle of February, I'll be totally honest. For about the first week or two, I was the hoarder at the grocery store. I had my girls lived at home at the time. They were,
but in the middle of February, it hadn't come out yet.
There were rumblings in February, right?
Oh, there were. Well, then let's go to the middle of January.
Okay. I was working on those 2 books. I was
okay.
Fielding emails and calls about giving a speech. In fact, I had like a huge one that I was working with the agent on, and then COVID. Right. So COVID gets announced.
Yeah.
With the 2 weeks to flatten the curve. My husband was about to get on a plane to California. We had a property there that we were renovating, and I was a little bit freaked out. I went to the store. There were no wipes. There was no nothing. So I made him like a sad little Ziploc bag where I soaked some paper towels in, hand sanitizer. And I was like, just wipe off your area. We don't know. I don't know. And by the time he came back, and, the little news things and the ticker, this many cases and this many cases, and the people dropping over in China.
Dead.
Honestly,
body bags. It was everything, all the stuff.
And I was like, I smell a rat. And that sounds so, self-congratulatory. And believe me, when I was no anti-vaxxer. Okay. Got the flu shot every single year. As soon as the doctor would say, okay, the girls need their DTaP and their, whatever it is, I'd go, okay, I'm not a doctor. What? I do my own research. I mean, that's why I have you, right? That's why I'm not doing this stuff at home. I come to you because I trust you to tell me what is best for my children because you are the expert. And then this shit show happens. And I was like, every single thing about this doesn't make sense. Nothing about this makes sense. The very first thing I wrote about, it was a blog post that I posted to Facebook, and it got taken down, which there you go. Right. So the censorship.
Another red flag.
Yeah. It was titled, I Will Drive. And I made this whole analogy, like, okay, imagine I were to say to you, you know what, Ken, my grandma, she's 95, and she likes to go for little drives around the neighborhood. And so she wants to go driving tomorrow. So I'm going to need you to stay home because she could hit you and it could hurt both of you. And that wouldn't be good. So you need to stay home. You'd go, no, Jenna, your grandma doesn't need to be behind the wheel. Grandma needs to stay home. You keep the person who is at danger needs to stay home. So, that was my analogy. I was like, look, I'm going to drive. I'm going to drive even if your 90-year-old grandma's on the road. And here's what I will tell you. I will wear my seatbelt. I will not text and drive. I will not drink and drive. I will obey all of the traffic commands, but I'm driving. I'm not the danger. So again, all of a sudden, feathers were ruffled. Like, you know what? It's people like you that we're never going to get out of this. Everybody just needs to stay home and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm making all of the arguments that make perfect sense. How is
Yeah.
Walmart safe, but the mom and pop grocer isn't? How is,
Right.
how is the beach not safe? How are parks not safe when, Costco can stay open and liquor stores? I don't know if that was everywhere, but in Texas, liquor stores are essential businesses, which frankly they were during COVID, but so nothing made sense. It just seemed, it just seemed too scripted and too, kind of like the parenting because I said so. Don't question me because I said so.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. Like my Substack profile picture is a sweatshirt that I own that says, "I'm not for everyone." My motto in life, ask my husband, is, "You're not the boss of me. Do not tell me what to do. You tell me what to do. You show me a wet paint sign, I'm going to touch that wall. Do not tell me what to do. I don't like it, and I'm going to do what I want to do." So I kept writing, and that was kind of the entree into it. I was like, I at the time I had a platform, I had followers, I had a voice, I had something to say, I had access to really good information because I already was on, the telegrams and these other places where people weren't being censored. And I genuinely, in my naive little heart, thought, hand to heart, I genuinely thought, if everybody knew what I knew, they wouldn't be complying. They wouldn't wear the stupid masks. They wouldn't put experimental poison into their body. They would, if they knew what I knew. So I was like, this is my calling. This is why I was put on the earth. I'm not afraid. I don't care if people hate me. I don't. I like to be liked. But if you don't like me, fine. What your opinion of me is none of my business. I really don't care. I have people who love and adore me. I don't need everybody on the planet to. I need to do what I need to do, and I need to say what I need to say.
Do you know who the Patriot Barbie is on Instagram?
Oh yeah.
She's a friend of mine, and she was on the show recently, and she was one of us. She told the state of Oregon to piss off. I'm opening my business, and holy crap, it made national news over it. But think about those are the stories that we know, right? And what about the thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of stories that we don't know? I think about this the other day. They had Anthony Fauci on, just grilling him. And I thought, man, there were elderly people who died in rest homes alone because they wouldn't let their children or loved ones in to see them. And I think, and it breaks my heart that happened. And it sounds like you were feeling the same vibes.
It was so maddening and nonsensical, and for there to be, so it's there's, I forget the saying, cutting out a man's tongue does not prove him a liar. It only proves you're afraid what he might say.
Yes.
Why was anybody that said anything other than safe and effective, you have to lock down, why were they literally their Facebook taken down, their Twitter accounts suspended, their Instagram shut down? When was that ever a thing? When were we not allowed to question things? We weren't allowed to talk, like free speech went right out the window. And I was like, this is literally the definition of propaganda. The definition of propaganda is what we say is the only thing. You cannot question it. It's like literally like being in a cult, right? You're in a cult because we say so, and you repeat back to us. And as I would watch people, like I would get in these arguments on Facebook that honest to God would blow my mind. Like people, I posted a link of Joe Rogan interviewing, at the time he had interviewed Peter McCullough and someone else. And I included the links, and like the disdain and the scorn, the comments were like, oh, okay, we'll be sure to take our information from somebody who gets her news from an MMA, comedian. And I'm like, are you that ignorant? Like, he is literally the interviewer. He is the interviewer. He is an entertainer, but he's interviewing the most published cardiologist on the planet.
Yes.
Like, how is that any different than Don Lemon interviewing him? He's just asking questions. You don't like it because he has a bigger platform and because he's slowly and then not so slowly moving over to the conservative side. But who Joe Rogan is absolutely meaningless. So nobody could ever attack the arguments, right? They would attack me. They would attack the sources, and then, comment after comment. Show me one double-blind placebo-controlled study that shows ivermectin works. And I'm like, I can show you a 288-page book that explains why I can't show you that study, right? I can't show you that study because the science was completely captured and bastardized. I'd love to show you that study, but they just science.
I have to ask you something though, and this is where, as the interviewer, I'm going to push back a little bit.
Okay, I'm ready.
Let's see what you got, sister. I'm kidding. So, I'm very active on X, formerly known as Twitter. I feel like I'm announcing Prince and the Revolution. But, and I comment a lot like there is this belief that is just running through the veins of this country and probably around the world that it's a Republican v. Democrat thing, or conservative versus liberal. And I believe that that's exactly what they wanted to create. And so they did. And there's this cognitive dissonance that exists where people don't have the ability to believe outside of what they already believe. Like they just can't get there. I think that it's not a conservative versus liberal, Democrat versus Republican thing. I think that it's a wake the freaking hell up thing. Like it's two wings of the same bird flying us into the ground.
I could not agree more. I use those terms to we know that CNN is liberal media. We know that
right.
Fox leans toward the conservative side. Period. End of story. They're going to say something good about Trump, and CNN is not.
Right.
I don't give a rat's ass about literally. I joke about this, but I mean it in all sincerity. Never once before COVID did I write, blog, post, or speak publicly, even at a dinner party, about politics, religion. I was not talking about our corrupt, health agencies and medical journals. These words were not in my vocabulary, right? I was kittens and sunshine. I loved, current events and what was going on, but like the politics, I wasn't going to pick a side. I was registered independent. And then I found out when I lived in New York and California, you couldn't vote in primaries if you weren't didn't have a party affiliation, wanted to be able to vote in primaries. So I was always a Republican, but I would classify myself up until COVID. And I would say this out loud, there wasn't really a libertarian party that you could align yourself with, right? No. So that would be what I am. But because we're forced to choose one of the two, I would say I'm fiscally Republican and I'm socially Democrat. I wanted you to have your gay marriage. I did not want you having drag shows in my preschool, but I love is love and you do you. And I had friends of I had apolitical friends. I had friends who'd never voted before, and I was not hounding them to get off their lazy asses and go vote like I am now. Like I am now. Right. Get off your lazy ass and vote, people. Like if you think it doesn't matter, I know it's all rigged, but you know what? It's probably rigged on both sides, to your point, right? Like if I saw 2,000 mules and the Democrats are ballot stuffing, whatever. There are shady, nefarious Republicans doing the same damn thing too. So fine, everybody's going to cheat. But the more actual votes there are, the harder it will be to bastardize that. So vote. I don't even care if you're voting for Biden. Bless your heart. I hope you get help with that. But vote. Vote. God.
We're on the same page. I think that again, when you, I got to be careful. I don't want to have the show shut off as the reason. I don't.
As soon as my name's in the title, it's probably going to get shut off.
Nah, it's all right. So I think that because I made an interview with Jenny McCarthy.
Perfect. I don't know. She's an anti-vaxxer too. So
I know, but what's interesting though is again, I didn't get it. I didn't get the jab. My wife didn't. We wouldn't. But it was interesting the polarity that existed around that topic, and it's still there. And they've come out and said, hey, by the way, gosh, okay, we were wrong. And they've said that now, right? And there's still people that are like, yeah, but were they really? Yes, they actually published and said, yes, they were wrong. And so I just think there's so much, again, it's cognitive dissonance. It's people can't get out of what they saw on CNN. If it's on CNN, it's true. It's got to be true.
But there's a saying that I love. It is far easier to oh god, I'm gonna mess it up. Oh damn it! It's easier to convince somebody of a lie than to convince them that they've been lied to. Like, so once you believe something, it's like you then have to acknowledge I was wrong, I was foolish, I believed some BS, and it's just easier to double down, dig in your heels, and frankly. When you're only getting your information from these were arguments that I would get in Facebook. Like they'd say, give me a legitimate source. Show me something from the CDC or the WHO. I'm like, they're the captured ones. They're
right.
They're the
Hold
ones
on, you said legitimate source.
So yeah, I cannot show you something from your source, but I can show you something from my source that disagrees with your source. But yeah, it just wouldn't register. So you're right. I've written about cognitive dissonance at length, and it really is. It's such a mental shift, and it's really, really, really hard for people to admit that they were duped. And especially in this case, Ken, because you're not just saying I was duped, right? You're saying I was duped. I subjected myself to something that not only could be harming or killing me, but I lined my kids up for that. That is really fucking hard for people to accept. It's really, really, really hard. It is so much easier to go, they meant well. Like, this is what people do. They did the best they could with the information they had at the time. No, they didn't. They actually didn't. They knew everything that I knew that I was trying to tell you. They knew.
Yeah.
So why are you defending them? That is actually called Stockholm syndrome. When people like sort of befriend and
fall in love with their captor.
Yeah, defend their captors, right?
Yeah. It's crazy. I know. I sounds like we need to write a book together. But I think it's insane to me. I do believe this. I heard what's his name? A famous actor.
I'm glad it's not just me forgetting things.
My best friend is a very famous actor, by the way, but we were talking about this actually the other day. I'm going to look for it right now because I shared this. It was a very famous actor that said, a lot of people say that Trump is an asshole. He goes, and that may be, but he's my asshole. And right. And so I'm a Christian. I don't believe that Trump is my savior by any stretch, but I do believe that we need somebody with a spine to stand up and say enough. Like, let's stop this. Like, what's the saying? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yep.
It's time people stand up. You got to stand up. Like, this is not good. It's no bueno. It's not good.
There's a famous story, and it's brutal and gruesome, and I apologize, but I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a study of like mass formation, right? There was a murder in New York City. The victim's name was Kitty Genovese. She was brutally stabbed. This was in I want to say the 1970s. And later, and no one called for help. There wasn't a single 911 or whatever it was back then. And when people were interviewed later and they said, "Did you hear?" "Yeah." "Why didn't you call?" "Well, it was so loud and so obvious. I figured somebody else had already called."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how many people are speaking up. Like, one of the best things about my Substack has been this community that I have found. So many people, like, reach out to me and they send me private messages. And I say the same thing to everyone. Why don't you say that publicly? Why don't you start a Substack? You have something really profound and meaningful to say. And so many of them have. And they write to me and they thank me publicly in their Substacks. But it's like, it is so liberating. It is so liberating to
Yeah.
go, this is how I feel. You can't touch me. You can't, well, you can put me in a FEMA camp and you probably will someday, but I'm going to be there with some really cool people. Like, because all the
Right.
cool kids are going to the FEMA camps for sure.
Right.
That's where all
Yeah.
my friends are going to be.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And I've watched, as I've done 550-ish, 560 interviews on this show, and so many during 2020 and 2021, and I've watched this gradual shift among people that I've interviewed that have gone, I feel like I started really waking up. I do think that people are starting to wake up and going, wait a minute, like there's something is amiss. I mean, you have to be really asleep in your life if you don't see that there's something way off here, like way off, right?
Yeah. We had one of my husband's childhood friends visiting us this weekend from California. They're hardcore Republicans, fairly
Yeah.
conservative. They both had to be vaccinated for work. Didn't, in his words, like, we don't really want it, but we didn't fight it at all. We were just like, yeah, they're making us do it at work. Never got boosters, never got anything else. But the two of them, my husband and his best friend, they had another friend who died this year. And he was a triathlete, marathoner, super fit, had just turned 60, exercised, never had a heart problem, never had a medical issue. And he died 9 miles into a training run, literally keeled over my heart and passed away. And we were talking about it. We were all hanging out in our pool and we were just talking about how sad that was. And the friend was like, I mean, that's just crazy, right? Because he had no family history. Like, it's so crazy that can happen. And I looked at my husband like, am I allowed? Can I go? Can I say it? And my husband looks at me and he looks at the other friend and he goes, did you ever think maybe the vaccine had something to do with it? Because he was vaccinated. I actually wrote about him for the FLCCC Substack. His name was Todd. He did not want to get it. He was violently opposed to it. His mom was in hospice. He had to get it to see her and it killed him. And so my husband asked, do you think it might have something to do with that? And he was like, kind of taken aback a little bit. And it wound up opening the door to a weekend of conversation about all of this. And by the end, we're sitting on my couch and I'm introducing him to VAERS, which he had never heard of, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, where 2.7, I think, million adverse reactions to this one shot, 37,000 recorded deaths, which are estimated to be 1% of the actual figure. Like, his face was ashen. Like, he had no idea. I said, you've never heard of this. You've never heard of this database.
Wow.
And he's like, Jenna, no.
There's somebody on Instagram. I keep looking over here because there's Instagram comments over here. Said that they lost 3 of their friends that were all in their 50s. I know I have a friend that's the head of a medical department, a whole department at Children's Hospital that was forced to get it, and he's a marathon. I mean, very, very healthy doctor. Been a for 30 plus years, and within 3 weeks he had myocarditis, and he said, I knew, and he fought it. I mean, he fought it, religious exemptions, blah blah blah. But you're the head surgeon of a huge hospital, department, you lose your job. You're losing a lot. And so he fought it so hard, and now he goes and he flies down here to Dallas to see Dr. McCullough. So, but it's so heartbreaking to me that so many people have gone through so much adversity with this. And again, they just don't see that they did anything wrong. And I don't think they did anything wrong, but
you don't. You
I'm
don't.
trying to
Like
be
the doctors
Jenna. I'm trying to stay in the
continue-
middle.
No, okay.
I
I
know.
disagree. I respectfully disagree.
You
know,
can.
there's so many whistleblowers out there. If you're telling me you are a general practitioner and you are giving 30, 50, whatever of these shots in your practice every single day, you're not seeing what the rest of the world is seeing, a 40% increase in all-cause mortality. You're not seeing these random turbo cancers that did not exist. Like, I got in a huge fight with somebody that's like, turbo cancer is just a made-up word. And I was like, listen, honey, so is broccoli. All words are made up. They're just strings of things. Who cares if it's a made up word? The phenomena exists. You can literally call it anything you want. It exists. It is happening. People are getting diagnosed with stage 4 cancers at 19 years old. You can call it Usain Bolt cancer. I can call it anything you want. I don't care. It's happening. You can't deny that it's happening. But again, this is part of the.
But when I say
defend and deflect, that's kind
listen.
of.
I when I say I don't think they did anything wrong, I think that the people that went in and got these, not the they were like. I remember the day that MTV started. I was just telling somebody.
I did too.
Like, I remember the day, and I recently went down a rabbit hole watching all the first videos the first day from MTV, right?
Wasn't that one of the first ones?
Yeah, she was one of them. I forget what it was, a song I've never even heard. I'm like, what the hell is that? I've never even heard. But anyway, I think though, when you look back to CNN, I mean, we didn't know any. I mean, I don't remember thinking, oh, I can't watch headline news by CNN because they're full of crap. It was never like that in the 80s and 90s. It was decades long of conditioning that brought us to this thing. And I just think that people did what they always do. Oh God, well, the doctors are saying go do this, so you got to go do this. And I get it. There were people like you, there were people like me that said, no way. But I think most people were like, but they said it's okay.
Just like they said Vioxx was okay, and they're saying Ozempic is okay. Like it's literally one of my earliest vaccine posts was that would literally be like you just found a bag of cocaine in your kid's backpack, and your kid says, "Mom, relax. My dealer said it's totally safe." Of course he did. What?
Oh my God!
Like the fox is guarding the hen house. Pfizer says their shots are safe. No shit. No shit. Right. And Pfizer has the largest criminal penalty history for falsifying trial results. Bribing doctors like you. And this is on the CDC website. This is not like you don't even have to dig hard for this information. So they make $32 trillion off of a vaccine. And there are a couple of, they're not liable because of the PrEP Act and, all these things that were put in place to make sure that they're not liable. And there might be a couple of little, they might get a little fine. You should have really said that thing about myocarditis louder. And then they get a $2 million fine. I mean, that's couch change. And they go, sorry, our bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here, let us give some of the dead people money now. Yeah. I hear you. Let me ask you this, because this is supposed to be an uplifting show. Let me ask you this.
We can talk about my book. It's very
uplifting. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about we're an hour and 3 minutes into this. Holy crap! But we got to end this soon. But I want to ask you, because this is about a show for entrepreneurs primarily. Like, what is it that you think? And you can weave in your everything into this answer, by the way. What do you think stops people from really having it all? And when I say having it all, I've been homeless and broke, and I've been incredibly wealthy, and wealthy is way better. So it is. I trust me, it is. But like, what do you think holds people back in life from having it all? The money, the happiness, the freedom, the joy, the relationship, the everything. What do you think really stops people? I'm giving you full screen for this answer. Make it a banger.
Oh, damn. That's a lot of pressure, Ken.
Come on, you got this.
No, I think I kind of think it's twofold. I think there's analysis paralysis, right? Like, okay, I want to lose this weight for good, or I want to find my soulmate. But there's always this like, but before I do that, I'm going to have to do all these things, and I'm going to get so mired, and I'm going to overthink it and think what I have to do, and I'm going to get completely overwhelmed, and then I'm going to do nothing, right? To me, the answer, I don't get, like, as a writer, once a week, I get an email from somebody. I want to write a book. I'm writing a book. And I always write back and go, send me your first chapter. Well, I haven't started the writing part. And I always say, if you wrote 500 words a day, that's nothing. That's a couple of paragraphs.
Right.
You would have, 3 novels by the end of the year. Just write. You just have to write. If you want to lose weight, you have to just start with one thing. Start with one thing. Start with not having dessert every night, not having a glass of wine before dinner, walking around the block 3 times after, whatever it is. Add one good habit every day. Write another page. Follow other writers that you like. Make every single day, you should be doing something toward your goal. And something that I've said to my kids all the time, like, if you're at a crossroads and you say, like, God, I'm on this diet, I was starting to see progress, but I really want that brownie. God, I just want that brownie. You can forgive yourself a million ways. I deserve it. I work hard. One brownie isn't going to make you fat. Not having one brownie isn't going to make you skinny. You can, you can have that little conversation with yourself all day, every day. Ask yourself one question in everything you do. One question. Is this brownie going to put me closer or farther from what I really want? If I really want to be skinny, I'll go, oh, that's definitely not the path to skinny. So I'm going to put it down. How bad do you want it? Right? I think we're lazy. I do. I think humans are lazy. I think our society has made us lazier. I think we want instant gratification. We just want the Ozempic. I want to eat the brownie, but I'll take the pill, and it's expensive and it might kill me, but I want that. I want to take that path. Work. That's crazy. Work. People say all the time, people tell me, oh my God, you're so lucky. You got to give a TED talk in Budapest, and you got to work at fancy magazines in New York, and you got to do this and you got to do that. And I say, what's funny? The harder I work, the luckier I get. It's crazy how that happens. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Wow. That's a really good answer to that question. Good. There was a lot of pressure. I don't even remember what I said. That was good. I think that, first off, we could talk literally all day about the corruption and the BS and there's a lot of it, and we could literally pick it apart all day long. And that's why you have Substack. They're so good. You got to. So we want everybody to go. Give me you sent me your, I don't have it in front of me. You sent it to me, but I can't include that link in the post of the live stream, or they'll whatever the heck. So I have a direct URL to my Substack. It's what is it? Side, 2 S's, JENNASSIDE.rocks. Because .com was taken. You can also just go to my name, JennaMcCarthy.com, and then there's a Substack link in my menu. You can read my blog. You can see all the other books I've written. You can see some of my speaking. You can see me in the bathtub. That's true. There's a bathtub video on there. I know, I'm so naughty. You can buy this book. This book, can I talk about it really
Hold
quick?
on. Yeah, please. Let me give you full screen. Hold that
Okay.
up again.
So I'm the editor, not the author on this one. I do have a couple of essays in it. So
Wow.
I put this together. It is called Yankee Doodle Soup for the sorry, that's horrible. For the fringy tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist soul. This was born of my Substack, not repurposed content, but every single day I was getting new followers and new subscribers, and they all said the same thing. Thank you for making me laugh during this shit show. Thank you for putting a positive spin on this, because I literally want to punch somebody 24 hours a day. I live for your Substack. It makes me so happy. And I thought, this should be a book. And in fact, we need to talk to Mark Victor about this, Mark Victor Hansen, because obviously I stole the chicken soup. I didn't steal it. I was very careful not to steal it, but it's meant to be a slight a parody. And
that's
you know,
awesome.
the whole idea had to be positive. It could be controversial. It could be warm and, you know, fuzzy, had to be positive. So yes, you could, you know, I have 43 different contributors. I have, you know, Jessica Rose. I have Pierre Corey from the War on Ivermectin. I have Britt Galvin, the magnet girl, you know, who was completely destroyed for sharing her vaccine injury. I have a holistic vet. I have a TV anchor. I have a bridal designer. I have authors, editors, an actress, one of the disinformation dozen, Dr. Ben Tapper. So it literally blows me away. Like I feel like all these people entrusted me with these amazing stories and their brilliant words to edit it and assemble it and put it together in this book. And I'm so proud of it. And I genuinely, honestly think like at least half of the world is really hungry for this book, because we are so tired of the bad news and the bullshit and the fake, you know, oh, we got bird flu now and disease X and, you know, cholera. There was something about cholera. You know, it's like, no, they're just going to keep doing it. They're just going to keep doing it. And what the best thing we can do is stick together and resist. That's what we can do.
And now is a really, 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 really good time to not be a hypochondriac. Like, you're a hypochondriac, you're so screwed. Oh my God. I feel bad for. I'm serious.
Oh yeah.
Listen, Jenna, you are. I'm gonna figure this out. We're gonna get Jenna on Amazon, and we're gonna have another conversation there. Hell, I might just invite you back to do live streams with me every now and then, just because I love your energy. Aww. and we need to get more people to listen to this. It's real, y'all. Like, it's really real. Y'all. I just moved to Texas almost 2 years ago, so I'm picking it up. I'm getting better at it.
I'm in year 5. I throw down the y'all. Yeah.
And you came from
most recently California, but before that, New York. I went New York, Florida, New York, California, Texas.
Wow. Bouncing around, blue to red, blue to red.
Yep. No more blue.
Jenna, you are awesome. Thank you for coming on and sharing your humor, your wisdom, your story. Like it's genuine and real and authentic. And I love that about you. It's amazing.
100% my pleasure. I will come back every single day if you would like.
I don't know about every day, but I would love to have you back on. So I would. And I just do random live streams too to talk about it. So let's do it for sure. Everybody watching, if you have not shared this out, there is time still for you to redeem yourself and go ahead and share this out and get as many eyeballs on this as you possibly can. Go to Jenna Side. Anybody listening on the podcast networks, it's JennaSide.ROCKS. Jenna Side Rocks is the website address. Go over there, follow her everywhere, and you guys all have an amazing day. Jenna, thank you again so much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're awesome. Everybody follow Jenna. Follow her. She's everywhere. She doesn't post on Facebook. What?
I said not in a literal way. That creeps me out.
don't follow her there.
Follow
That
me.
would be weird. Yeah, don't do that. Everybody have a great day. Thank you, Jenna.
Thanks.
Stay
guys.
with me, by the way. Don't hang up.
Not going anywhere.
See you guys.